Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we're back to working on the metal planer finally, and we're going to be working on this piece here. This is a casting that goes on that front rail that moves side to side. The clapper box mounts to this. This is basically just for moving it from one side of the other on that piece that we have already mounted, already got scraped in. Now this is just exactly like it came off the machine. The only thing I have done is we did soak this in Evapor Rust just to kind of clean the rust stuff off of it, and haven't really done anything else to it. I think what we're going to do is start by just getting the wire wheel over here, do a little bit of further cleaning on it, get it cleaned up really well, and then figure out what we need to do. I do know that I at least need to do some scraping on the back sides here where this goes into on the ways, just to make sure we have a good surface there for it. Probably go ahead and flake it for oil retention, and then I also need to figure out what we need to do on the front here. This is the part that the clapper box mounts to. It kind of rotates on this piece where you can set that clapper box at different angles. So anyway, without further ado, let's get in here and get started. I've just got a wire wheel mounted here on an angle grinder, and we're just going to come in here and clean this up. There's a little bit of rust and junks left on this thing. Get it on off. All right, that should give me a good starting point here. You can see the planer marks in here where this was originally planed. It's interesting. So the front of this, basically, you can kind of see in the wear where the only part that really comes in direct contact is just a little ring right around here. There's two little small circles. I don't know if you can see that on camera. Probably about maybe a ½ inch inside of either side of this ring. There's a T-nut that goes around here that you can tighten this up. So there's really no need for this whole surface to be perfectly scraped in or anything like that, although there is some irregularities in there. It looks like the top side of this may be a little bit more worn than the bottom side. I need to figure out what I want to do. Ideally, if this would fit over on my surface grinder, I would just surface grind this whole piece, but I believe this is too wide to do at least in one pass. So let me do some thinking here and kind of come up with a game plan and get back to you guys here in just a second. All right, so here's the game plan after studying this. Like I mentioned earlier, what I'd really like to do is take this over to my surface grinder, just grind the top of this, get a nice good finish to start with. But this is about 10.5 inches wide. My surface grinder is only 8 inches wide. I'd have to do it in 2 setups, which I really just don't like the idea of. So we're just gonna do it by hand and scrape this thing in. And like I also mentioned before, really the only areas that I'm interested in is about that 1/2 inch on either side of this circle that goes around. I will scrape the whole surface, but really the only areas that I'm really that concerned about is the areas that are bearing. And I do have some pitting in the center section. Looks like they may have gotten some moisture in there at some time. Most of that is probably below the surface, so when I blew this up, I'm expecting to see where I don't have a whole lot of contact in this middle area, but there's no bearing there. But anyway, that's the plan. I'm gonna get my biax out. We're gonna start by just doing a blind crosshatch on it. We'll take it over the surface plate and glue it up and scrape her in. So let's get at it. We got a good rough in blind scrape job here. I'm just stoning this, deburring it with my precision ground flat stones. And I am stoning it a little bit heavy on this first pass, making sure I don't feel any burrs that are just kind of left over from that rough casting. And I got a place over here on my plate inked up. It's actually hinging pretty good. Yeah, it's hinging a lot better than I thought it would. All right, let's take it over here and see what we got. Well, the ink doesn't lie, so it's actually not that terrible of a story here, because we've got pretty good contact, at least from here to here on that inside ring, and a little bit of contact up here. We got a little bit of contact on the sides, not so much on the top and bottom. So just like normal with scraping, we're going to come in here and hit our high spots. I'm going to hit these kind of heavy because I'm still kind of in a roughing mode until I get contact all the way around, and we'll go from there. So let me get the scraper out and continue on scraping here. So after round 2 here, second time to the surface plate, and you can see we actually brought it down a lot inside this inner circle. The outer circle still not touching very much, except over here on the sides. Looks like it may be kind of maybe got a little bit of a angle to it there, but no biggie. I think this is going to come in fairly quickly. I'm going to make a couple of passes and we'll bring you back. Again, all I'm really worried about is getting good contact right around this little area right in here. The rest of it is non-bearing, so it really doesn't matter. Just thought I'd give a quick update here where we're at. I've made about 3 or 4 passes since the last time I showed this, and it is coming in real nice. We've got contact on this inner ring pretty much all the way around. I don't have the points of contact that I want, but we got contact. And on the outer ring here, starting about here, all the way around to about here, we've got contact. I'm still missing just a little bit of area right in here. Hopefully a couple more passes and I can start concentrating on points of contact in that ring, but it is slowly coming in. Well, here we are back again. I've made about another 2 passes on it, and we've now got that area up here starting to come into contact. And to this point, I've been making roughing passes. I've made real long strokes on the scraper, going fast, just trying to knock things down. Now that I've got contact pretty much well across the whole part, we're going to start getting better points of contact in here in these areas. And I'm going to do that by shortening the stroke on my scraper, where it's not making as long as the stroke, and really just concentrating on the areas where the ink's transferring, and not really making those wide sweeps through here like I've been doing. I really want to just concentrate on just bringing the high points down, and that should bring in more points of contact, and those shorter strokes should break them up into smaller points of contact. So I'll get at it. Coming along nicely. I'm real happy with what I got. Again, we're only really concentrated in this little ring right here. Not so much worried about out here and in the middle. And I've got good contact all the way around. I got pretty good points of contact all the way around. I'm probably going to make a couple more passes on this off camera, but that is getting really, really, really close to where I want to be. And probably what I'm going to do now is go ahead and flip it over. Start working on the dovetails, and on the inside of this, there's going to be some scraping in there as well. And I need to do some checks. I need to check it for parallelism and so forth. So I really don't want to take it too terribly far in case I need to come back in here and do some more step scraping or something like that. I'm hoping I'm not going to have to, but you never know. So that's kind of the game plan. We'll come back and probably work on this as the very last step to get our final points of contact in there. I've got the saddle now turned over. The side that we just scraped is going down, and this part we've also got to do some scraping in. These actually ride on the cross rail, and there's a dovetail and a face down here on the bottom that rides, and then this face here that rides. These both ride across the front of the cross rail. Of course, the dovetail goes across the bottom dovetail. The top and this piece that hooks over, there's two adjustable gibs in here. So we really don't have to scrape these surfaces. We will have to scrape the gibs because that will actually be what comes in contact with the cross rail. But I do need to go ahead and at least get a rough scraping in here. And what we will do is once we get these surfaces kind of roughed in, I will take this, we'll actually blue up the cross rail and use that as our reference surface. We've already scraped it in. We've already checked it for flatness against either on the surface plate for the faces, or in the case of the dovetail using a straight edge. So that is really what we need to match it to. So that's what we will actually blue up and measure against. So I'm going to get in here. We're going to go ahead and just, like I always do, start with a rough crosshatch. On all these surfaces, we'll go blue it up onto the cross rail and see where we got to go from there. Got a line going across here approximately where I need to scrape to. Couldn't really get all the way up into that back corner with the power scraper, so I'm resorting to some hand scraping here to get right up in that corner. All right. Now the dovetail face. And just like before, I'm going to come in here with the hand scraper and get all the way back up into that dovetail. Get in here and deburr this. Just realized I need to do this top surface right here too. That is a bearing surface. So let me knock that out real quick. All right, we got plenty of ink, I think, over here. And make sure I get this dovetail in the back of that dovetail. Take our saddle here. These are our gibs that fit on here. All right. I'm kind of lifting up and pushing in. I don't have my gibs obviously tightened up on this thing, but should be able to hopefully transfer some ink back and forth here. All right, let's see what happens. All right, that's not too bad for the first pass here. So the top actually looks pretty decent. It looks like I got a smear here, but fairly decent contact all the way across up there. Down here on the bottom, yeah, we've got contact from one end to the other, but it looks like it's a little bit more heavy on this side, so I might need to bring this side down a little bit. I got a little bit across the front, but some of that's a smear as well. Down inside the dovetail, got a little bit of contact on this side all the way across, but most of it is way down there in the bottom. And on the front dovetail, same thing. It's probably in the bottom third of that, which means I'm probably going to have to get in there and do most of that scraping by hand. But we're going to knock it out. Let me hit this, what I can hit with the power scraper, and then we'll get in there with the hand scraper and finish things out. We're going to clean this up and go print it again. And just like any scraping, it's a process, back and forth, back and forth. I think this will come in fairly quickly. I actually had a lot more contact on that first pass than I was anticipating. So anyway, let me deburr this, and we'll bring you back after a couple of passes and let you see where we're at. Just giving you guys a quick update. I made a couple more passes. I took the saddle over to the cross rail, put it on, and this time I actually put the gibs in and tightened them up so that it was pretty much as it would be, where it would slide nice on the piece. I've got actually some very nice coverage up here in the top. I know you guys can't see it, but the coverage on the dovetail is actually very good. The interesting thing is that while this is mostly a smear and not what I would really like to see as a print, we got it pretty heavy on this face. This face down here is barely touching, just only back here making a few points of contact in the back. So what that's telling me is that this surface here needs to come down a little bit more so that it will actually bring this surface into contact when everything's tightened up on there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm not even going to touch anything except this surface here. I'm probably going to do a double pass on it, go back and forth, and just blind scrape. Basically, I'm just roughing it, taking it down, and go put it back on there and see if I can't pick up some better print on the back side, on the bottom down here. So anyway, that's the game plan. I'll bring you back after we've worked on this, but I thought I'd show you that just because it's interesting. Sometimes you have to think about what you're seeing and what you need to do to make things work out properly. So bringing you back again, that actually helped out a lot. I took a pretty heavy cut on the top here, and we have now got the back piece starting to come in. It's now heavy kind of on both sides here. a little bit light, with nothing really touching. Well, down in the bottom it is, but not at the top. Got a little bit of contact over on this side. I think what we're going to do now is just kind of hit the black spots. Again, you guys can't see it. I can see the dovetail. Pretty nice coverage from one side to the other. I'm happy with the way that's looking. So I think we're just going to kind of hit all the dark spots and take it back over there, blue it up again. Again, I'm not going to touch the top at all right now. I'm just really trying to get this in. If we stay contacting like we are up there, I'm going to be really happy. So looks good. Bring it back once we get there. With just that one little adjustment we just made, which was basically just hitting the high spots, it has come in. Just to show you that scraping, moving just a little bit of metal can make a really big difference in how something prints up. So I'm real happy with this. Again, you guys can't see it, but it actually improved my coverage on the dovetail a little bit. It looks very similar to what we're seeing here. And I'm gonna probably hit this a little bit, try to break up some of these bigger areas. I don't want to move it too much, but maybe try to increase my number of points per inch a little bit. Pick up maybe a few more points on these surfaces. That surface I'm pretty happy with. And we're gonna call this good and ready to go back together. That came in pretty easily. Actually, this came in a lot easier than what I was anticipating. I was afraid this was going to be a train wreck, but turned out it was not in terrible shape. Well, guys, that's pretty much going to have to be a wrap for the day. I am running out of time. I've been shooting this and working on this on Memorial Day here in the U.S. today, and we've got a little cookout planned this evening, and which means that I've got to cook out this evening. So I'm going to have to wrap this up, get the shop cleaned up, and run up there to the house. I am going to come back on this and do just a little bit more touch-up scraping to get the points of contact. I'm actually happy with it. Probably fine as it is right now, but we'll make it a little bit better. But and then also I need to put some paint on this, and it will be ready to start reassembling this saddle over on the cross slide on the machine coming up real soon. So with that, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comments are appreciated, and guys, we will catch you on the next video.